won this game. What does that tell you about this team?
I think it just speaks to their parents and how their parents raised them. I don't think that as a coach there can be any sort of strategy, or we ran different plays to account for how to answer your question. I think it has to be how they grew up and how they were raised, and the toughness and whatever words, adjectives you want to use in that regard. There's every reason to stop. 48-hour, less than a 48-hour turnaround on the road, quickest turnaround that we've had all year. They made 8 threes in the first half, had 7 offensive rebounds in the first half. They were shooting 73% from three. We're having to absorb not only Chris's talent / production, we're trying to find out how to spread out his 30 minutes. That's a lot. And I don't think that you can succinctly answer it other than how they were raised.
How did you get that offense cranked up in the second half, especially in the last 12 minutes or so?
I thought in the first half, Berman, we were playing off one foot way too much, trying to attack, thinking something would be there on the first side way too much. And I thought in the second half we settled down and did a better job of getting the ball reversed, whether the reversal was off the pass or the bounce, and trying to force them into rotation. And you're not going to force a team as good as they are into rotation on the first side. And I thought too many times in the first half that's what we did.
You held up to 11 points in the last 12 minutes of this game. What did you do better or differently defensively down the stretch there?
It was just such a hard matchup. In my opinion, their 3 best players had 31 rebounds and 47 points. And I don't know if there's a guy on our team that we match up with. I thought Med did a better job in the second half on 23, but 1 and 2, there's a reason why they're the first and second leading scorer in the league. They're just hard to guard. And I thought some of the slight adjustments we made were healthy down the stretch, but I don't think you can give good players the same diet of anything. I think they're going to expose you. And so it would have been a collective effort.
Buzz, you had cut into the lead, and they would kick it back out, and then that 7-point play happened. How much did that change?
I wasn't exactly sure. I get, my mind is so chaotic, as you can tell if you're listening to me. I wasn't sure exactly of the rule, right? Because first of all, the first thing I would say is they had extended the lead, and on that possession, we got to stop. When we get a stop, we're at our best, like most teams, because we can play in transition. And as small as our roster is now, we're going to be reliant on getting in transition and getting points from the free throw line. Otherwise, we won't be able to get enough. So when Med made the layup, called the foul, and it's intentional, my assistant, Rock, was telling me what was going to transpire. And then by the time it was all playing itself out, I was having to ask the official. But obviously, if there were to be a play, that would have been the play, because it changed the tenor of the game for sure.
But another thing here where you're playing very well at the closing time down the stretch,
Yeah.
and you win another single possession type game. Is there something you just notice about this team that they have something that they don't wilt in those kind of situations, or rise to the occasion in those situations? Or?
Well, I think a lot of it has to be we've been in so many of them, you know. And I think we've been in so many of them, just to be frank, because we have to play incredibly hard just to get in that position. And I think because we've been in that position, our guys are comfortable. And that doesn't mean that we're going to win another one. But we're not going to blow anybody out. We can for sure get blown out. But if if it turns grimy and it turns into a fight, and there are some plays that you can't describe how did all of that transpire, that probably means it's trending in a good way for us because the flow is not good. You know, it's choppy, and that's how we have to play. And honestly, I know you know this because you've seen so many games. That's the way it's been since we've been here. And I think that you could study it. I think that we've played in more two-possession or less games than anybody else in the league since we've been here. And that's a short shelf life as a coach.
I don't know how deflated this team was or not when they learned about Chris yesterday. If they were down, how much is this a lift to kind of show everybody that, hey, the season's not over, no gloom and doom here, we can win without Chris?
It probably wasn't along those lines. Those kids are really close. I've never said it publicly because it sounds like I'm making an excuse. We've suited up 8 guys all year long. And Chris is a really good player. Had the MRI yesterday morning, as you knew, and then we couldn't meet with the doctor until right before we left, and we FaceTimed his parents so that they could hear what the doctor had to say. And obviously that's emotionally crushing, you know. He made his return after his foot injury as a freshman at UVA, and then his sophomore year ended versus UVA, and he was the Virginia Player of the Year, and we signed him in recruiting class 1. You know, I don't know how the right way to handle that is, other than just be supportive. And I think that each of our other players handle it different too. And so we met with the doctor, and by the time we got done with that, our team was ready to leave. And so we prayed over him, and I talked to the team about what we had found out. We came immediately here. We had done absolutely zero in prep for Pitt, and I touched on it again. And then I touched on it again this morning before we had shoot-around. I thought the spirit of fight was superb. But I think that obviously Chris wants to play, and we want Chris to play, but we can't change that. So I don't know that I handled it right, but I tried to, and I think our players don't exactly know how to handle it right, but I think they tried to too.
As you went through it recently, do you see some of the coaching transition challenges as what Pitt is going through right now?
I mean this in the right way, and I know coaches are supposed to take up for coaches, you know. And I said this when we played Coach when he was at Vanderbilt. He's a top 5 offensive coach in the country, period. And I don't think that upon arrival, his scenario was exactly what ours was when we got here. But the one thing that I would say is, and I read whoever the writer is today, I always read the Wherever We're At paper. I don't read our paper, but they're talking about me, so I don't want to read that. We were preseason last upon arrival and had finished in last the previous 3 years. So upon arrival, it's a completely different scenario. But the one thing that I would say, I've known Jamil since he was young. Those guys have been here a long time. And here comes Coach. And Jamie had done a great job for a long, long time and had become an establishment in many respects, in my opinion. That's just as hard, right? Because you got a team full of guys that their whole career have only heard one voice and only know one style of play and have had, for the most part, I think all of those kids, the former point guard that was here, that was the assistant for Jamie, He was an assistant for all of those guys. You know, like everything's been the same. Strength coach the same, trainer the same, secretary the same, academic advisor the same. That's a lot of change. And when you're as experienced as those guys are, and now all of a sudden everything that you've known relative to Pitt, other than where you live, changes, that's a lot. And I think at North Carolina, at Duke, at BC, and Clemson, Syracuse. I think that they finally figured it out. And what I would say, just from watching it, I'm not trying to coach his team. I think it was probably a balance of, hey, this is what we've been used to, and this is what we were trying. Can we meet somewhere in the middle? And like all of those different things that they've been running, they know who's supposed to shoot. You know what I mean? The issue is there's so many of those things. It's kind of like playing Coach Dixon's teams. Like, they ran more plays than anybody in the country. And I like all the players that they have signed and committed, but he'll do a great job here.
Last question to Mark.
You won 5 league games last year without Chris.
Is that right?
Yeah, you went 5 and 7 without him last year, with the 5 ACC wins without him.
And then won the last 5 with him. I thought we won 6 to finish the year.
Including the ACC tournament.
Oh, the 6th game was the ACC tournament.
So, anyway, so having won 5 games in the league without him last year, those games or is this game a roadmap for, okay, this is how we win without Chris?
Yeah, I was just telling Burnham on the radio. Obviously, we had no time to prepare on what to do on either end of the floor without Chris. And I think we're coaching a different team now. And we're going to have to figure out what is best for us on both ends of the floor. Rebounding we're last in the ACC in rebounding, and we lost our leading rebounder. That's not good. We lost our second leading guy in assists, most of which come in transition, and we're best when we're in transition. So I think the evolution of what our team is going to become is going to change, and I don't know the answers. We tried some different things tonight, some of which was the same, but I don't know. I don't know what's best, and I think that you're right in what you said, but we went 12 games without Chris and then went, hey, let's drop a good player into the mix. Well, we went 24 games with a good player and said, he's out. Now how do you want to close it down? And I don't know exactly what that's going to be. It was mix and match tonight.
You won, so is that-
Yeah, but I understand. We're grateful that we won. To be able to accurately answer your question, I don't know what it's going to be. And I think that, now you play 7 guys, okay, well, you ain't going to practice long, and so we got to figure out efficiently what is going to be best for our group.